live.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Desert Farmer Podcast, episode 31. It is, what's today? Today's September 7th, right? So
Yes.
September. So we got a few things we want to cover with you guys today. The topic of the day might seem a little confusing for us here in Arizona because it's something about peach ripening. It does kind of apply to us, but not really. So hang in there for that. The question came in from another state, but we will be covering that. We have a few things on the agenda today we want to make sure we cover with you guys. Couple housekeeping notes. The first one is Lori's going to be keeping an eye down in the chat. So if you have something you want to say to Lori, she's reading them all, every single one of them, and she'll do her best to respond. She's also going to be the curator of questions. You'll be the question curator, right?
Yes.
So, and speaking of questions, how do they ask a question today?
If you have a question, please write the word question, preferably in all caps. That way it stands out before your question, and then state your question, and we'll make sure we get those read on the live stream today.
Yes. So hopefully we don't have to go through the speed round since I can't do a speed round to save my life. So I guess overall, I don't know if you guys were here in Arizona, but this morning we had a nice little downpour out of nowhere, right?
Yes, out of complete nowhere.
Yep, right in the middle of
expecting it.
right in the middle of chores. We were trying to get the vlog filmed and for you guys next week, and got something special for you guys next week. But all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this loud crowd. I'm watering the berry cane patch, spraying the water over, trying to reach the far things. All of a sudden, crack of lightning and immediate thunder. So I'm like, I will stop watering now.
It was loud.
This is not a good idea. But that was nice, right?
Yeah, nice little change, and then it's pretty much cloudy all day.
Had clouds most of the day. Of course, not now, but clouds again in the back. Hey, you know, one of the things about this time of the month, obviously, or this time of the year, we, it's fall, right, in September. We're going to talk a little bit about planting time, right? You guys know that it's fertilizing time. We'll be covering a couple of those things today. But one of the things we have to look forward to is cooler weather. And did you look at the weather forecast? We were talking about it this morning.
We briefly talked about it, and I think you said that next weekend we actually drop out of the hundreds.
We do.
So down into the upper 90s.
Yep.
Which for us here in Arizona, we all get excited about that.
The high temperature is actually low 90s, I think, at the beginning of next, the farthest out. So it's probably not accurate at all. But
it'll change 10 times before then.
It'll definitely change. But for us here in Whitman, I saw upper 60s.
Wow.
Before sunrise. So, looking forward to that.
Oh, that's nice.
All the animals are
That's
looking
nice.
forward to that too. That's not just us. So, everything, all the trees are looking forward. Everything is looking forward to that fall weather.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
We all are.
We are. All right, so let's get to the agenda today. So we got some agenda items we want to cover first and foremost. We talked about that last week. Just some things we want to make sure that we're catching you guys up on and make sure that we've got some content for you guys besides just a random question here or there, which we're still here for. But what's our highlight of the week?
Highlight of the week is fall planting begins.
Oh, yes. Which is funny because whenever we stop planting in the spring, we never want to plant anything ever again until
now.
this time starts. Yeah. And it's like, I can't wait to start planting stuff.
Like, okay, what can we plant? What can we plant? That was us.
It was us.
Well, we can't plant this yet.
No.
It's still a little too early.
No, and what's funny is we had all these plans to stretch out over, we'll start planting this week, and then we planted it all in a day.
Yeah.
I think maybe even less than a day.
Yeah.
But we got one thing that we're actually going to be offering for sale, right? We're hoping to have it for sale during the farm tour that we planted out for everybody. Mm-hmm. And we had several things that we planted out that are predominantly for us. I guess they're pretty much all for us. Mm-hmm. But do you remember what all we planted? We got, besides the one thing we're going to cover in a separate video for everybody.
Okay, so don't say that.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that one. But we have in-ground plantings that we got planted last week. A little bit late, but not too far off. And some sprouts. So what was that?
So the in-ground ones, we did a bunch of different squash. So we did pumpkin, acorn squash, spaghetti squash, butternut squash, and a honey nut squash.
Right, so several squashes. And the first thing up was what?
The pumpkin.
Yes, so we were pretty excited about that. Now, I think we'll be a little bit too late. In fact, I'm confident we'll be a little too late for Halloween, but that doesn't matter. We're going to be using them for eating. But if you guys, I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but a couple years ago, well, when we first started that patch after coming in behind the pigs, we planted several things out that did well. Squash, right? And then we went into another season of squash and had some serious problems with squash bugs. So we skipped last year completely. We basically didn't plant any annual plants, definitely no squash last year. So none of that went in the ground, and we're giving it a shot. Second season this year. Hopeful that all the squash bugs are gone. We haven't seen any, so we'll see. Hopefully. So we got that, and then we did do some starts, right? So and we've got kind of a little mini greenhouse that we're going to share with you guys. I think in next week's vlog, kinda. So you guys will see what that looks like. But that was because we started some plants indoors. Your typical fall winter fare. It's broccoli, cauliflower, spinach. I think a different type, a different salad that we're like a lettuce for salad that we're gonna try. Am I missing something? I think that's about it, right?
Yeah, we have 4 things in each of the trays.
So we'll be planting all those plus the garlic and the itoy onions will all go into the ground hopefully next month. So we've got several weeks for those to get going, and then we get them transplanted. So most important thing here is, guys, planting season has begun. Now, obviously, veggies and annual production, those are a short time frame, and those all get started now. And the squash does just fine in the heat. And what we wait just a little bit on is fruit trees, right? Because we do have some of that going on, and we're going to be moving some stuff around. So we'll be sharing more of that with you guys here over the next several weeks, probably starting the end of September into the beginning of October. So we'll be sharing those with you guys as well. All right, so what's next?
Are we going on the
what do we have there?
Agenda, or do you want to go through some questions?
Well, if we got questions, let's do that, and we'll get to the agenda item.
Yeah,
okay?
we'll go through a couple.
And if you guys can remember, give us a thumbs up while you guys are out there. That helps us out not only today, but into the future. So what do we got?
So Mars, what is the drink of the day?
Okay, this is a great question because I don't know yet what it is.
So we have a wine that we made from last year, so 2023, and I didn't tell Dwayne which one I picked out. We haven't tried this one yet, so I wanted to see if he could actually figure it out. But This is technically our taste test of the day, but we'll do it now.
Okay, so am I going first since you know what it is?
Yeah. Well, I can have a drink. Oh, it's really tart.
Okay, so there's tart. I think I know what this is. Let me try it one more time. Just a little bit.
It's a lot tartar than I thought it was going to be. Is that a word, tartar?
Tarty, yeah, like you're late. Tartar sauce.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a fruit wine. Am I correct? Okay, it's plum, isn't it?
It is.
I
think it's red. Last time it was white that we made it, but it's because of that those satlap
That's right.
plums and that dark red.
Yeah, so I figured two things gave it away. So the first thing is the color, because I'm racking my brain. I'm like, okay, what could have made this color wine?
Yeah.
And there's not too many options. I know it's not a grape wine. It had to be fruit. And so knowing that and that tart in there.
That tart, yeah.
That tart gave it away.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Plum wine is our drink for
plum
today.
wine. So, and then obviously you're right, with the satlap in there, a little bit of cherry parentage. So a little cherry action going on. This is fantastic.
It's actually really good. It's a little tartar than I thought it was going to be. But. What are the top 5 wines that you've made from the farm for each of you?
Oh
boy,
that is going to be tough. Okay,
don't drag this out. We have to go.
Yeah, we got to go fast. Okay, so I'll name my top 5, and then you name your top 5. Okay. So I'm going to start with probably number 1 for me is apple. So I think the apple's really good because it doesn't need to be back sweetened at all. Second would probably be mulberry. Nice, super, super dark wine with the mulberry. The next one is kind of a split between Zinfandel and Cab. Again, more reds. So I think those are really good. Oh, this plum wine's fantastic. Let's see. The Thompson. So another one that's a very, very good white wine.
So hard to decide.
I know. And then out of the rest of those, I think I'm going to probably have to say, Syrah. I almost forgot Syrah.
You're not going to say Syrah?
I know. Yeah, Syrah might actually, a couple of those might flip-flop. So, but yeah, those would be my top 5.
Yeah, I don't know if it's in order, but yeah, definitely mulberry, Syrah, I like the plum actually from the previous batch that we made, I think a little bit better than this one because that one was really good. And then you're right on the apple and Thompson.
Yeah, the apple and Thompson are both fantastic. Really, really good white wines. And obviously, any of you guys can grow it, any of you guys can make it. And they're easy to make, honestly, because you're not leaving them on the skins.
Yeah.
So the skins give wine a wonderful balanced flavor with, all the tannins and some of the little bitterness and some of these things going on. There's a lot more health benefits that I've read when it comes to the red wines with like resveratrol, other antioxidants and polyphenols. But the white wines are easier to make because you can just juice them, really. And you're only dealing with the juice. So, yeah, good question. What else we got?
So we have Sarah. We planted two
Sarah.
Anna apples 2 weeks ago, not from RSI, sad face. One is doing okay, but the other has mostly crispy leaves that fell off. Is it toast?
It's hard to say for sure. So I can't say for sure that that's the case. Definitely the wrong time of year for planting apple trees. So apple trees really, I mean, you again, we've kind of talked about this a little bit. So you can plant them. The challenges are going to struggle. And we got really hot last week. Yeah, unseasonably hot last week. And that's the challenge with the month of September. We didn't even break any records. So I know we got close, but we didn't break them, which means, you can get that kind of weather pretty much throughout the month of September. It starts to tail off towards the end of September, but it's one of the reasons we are not planting fruit trees right now. And we typically won't until late September and then into October. And then it's really fruit tree season, planting season at that time. I'm not going to go in and say that it's because it's rootstocks, although that can play a factor, but typically that's down the road. So, it's hard to say for sure. If you didn't get them at RSI Growers, I don't know where you got them. Let me know, but chances are pretty good that they got some type of guarantee. Most of the nurseries do something like that, and they kind of know if you're buying a plant right now that there's a chance it may not make it. So, if they're dry and crispy and it's newly planted, that's tough. That's tough. It's going to have a hard time coming back because it needs the leaves in order to give energy to the roots that need to establish at this point. So that's going to be a tough one.
So I'm going to kind of just jump down because I have someone
Sure.
I have a plum and fig trees in pots ready to be planted. When to plant them? Should I wait for temps to drop below 100 during daytime?
Yes.
So just kind of
Okay, yeah. So kind of along those same lines. So I might have just answered that question for you. So hang on to those. We always wait for fruit trees well below 100. Like you can get 100-degree temps in the month of October, but if you do, it's late in the afternoon. It's typically not for very long, and it's not for long stretches of time. So, and more importantly, you have more nighttime hours, and so you got half the day is nighttime. So you've got a lot of time where it is cooler and you don't have direct sunlight. And then, of course, angle of the sun. We get into the fall, that sun starts to drop into the southern sky. And so that sun angle will make a difference for you as well. So, hang on to those. You've only got a few more weeks.
I think we usually kind of October is our thing that we look for.
100%. October is go time for fruit trees. No question. Yeah. What else we got?
We have more questions on here, but let's jump over. And since you're talking about like trees and everything, do you want to just go into
item of the week?
Our item of the week?
Yes. So we'll talk about the item of the week. Now, you guys know it is fertilizing time right now. So the one we're going to share with you is we use it every month on the roses, but it is fertilizing season. So, the month of September for us is a critical time for the fertilization because what you're doing right now is you're actually supporting new growth and bud break after dormancy. So that's, for the most part, what this round of fertilizing is doing for you and giving a little bit of juice during that wintertime because it takes a couple of months to break down. The one we're going to be sharing with you now is one that we utilize for our potted plants. This is the IV Organics all-purpose fertilizer. It's an organic option. It's more of a powder as opposed to granules, so very easy to spread. They put a lot of things on there as far as what to use it for. I would say a small fruit tree is probably fine. Definitely not your bigger ones. I don't know that this would be the right option there. But for flowers, veggies, we use it for our roses in our our pots at the front. And they look a little sad right now because it's the end of summer. But we utilize this during the growing season for those. So great option for you. Obviously, you guys know IB Organics. Use our discount code if you're going to use that or anything else from them. It's EONFARM. Use that at checkout. Get 10% off. And don't forget to fertilize.
Yes.
And don't forget to fertilize. Oh, I think I'm going to wind up fertilizing now.
Man, maybe.
That might have just fallen to me. All right, so what else we got?
So no red wine? If the red skins are in the crunch at first ferment, you get the red color.
Right. So if you leave the skins in the primary fermentation bucket, so we use either a large trash can, a food grade trash can, or buckets for the primary fermentation. And in the primary fermentation, that's where you leave your skins in. That's what gives you the red wine. So if you guys have ever seen Zinfandel wines, Zin wines can be red. They can be blush-ish, kind of a little bit of a white wine. And all that is they pressed the grapes and left the skins off for your white / kind of blush Zinfandel that you'll find. And then they leave the skins on for an extended period of time if you have a red Zinfandel. And I think ours is pretty dark this year. So we just finished that one up. It was the last one that we did. And it's got a good color to it. It's not as dark as the mulberry. It's not as dark as the Syrah. But it might be about the same as our Cabernet, which tends to be a little bit light. But all of those, we leave the skin on for about the entire primary fermentation time frame, which is 4 to 7 days. So give it that red color. And your antioxidants.
Yeah.
So what else we got?
And this is Joe, which is John, right? Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's John.
I'm not sure what this is. So orange on the outside, hollowed out on the inside.
Trumpkins?
Trumpkins get thrown out after Halloween. Sorry, I want decent people come November.
I think I get the feeling that is a politics thing.
Okay.
So Trumpkins as in Donald Trump.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
Is that Pam again?
Yes.
Pam, you are so kind.
Thank you, Pam.
You're the best, Pam. The best. It seems like we say that every week.
Every week. You're always the best.
You're always the best.
You are the best. Have you cut back watering your grapevines? And if so, how much?
Fantastic. We just talked about this morning. So typically when we get into the month of September, the answer would be yes. However, you guys saw last week, so we put that off because we were up above 110 degrees again, and we were at near 110, I think, on Wednesday, above 110 on Thursday when you guys were all like 115 in the city. So we held off. But we just talked again this morning. We'll be backing that down. Pretty much everything gets back down probably next week. Once we start seeing those lower temperatures at night and we start seeing those sub 100 temps, we'll go back to once a week for all the fruit trees. And the grapevines will either be once or twice a week. It kind of depends. I don't know. We're not trying to support a tremendous amount of green on those vines this year at this point. So it may only be 1 day a week. But it'll be 1 or 2. Probably in the next week, we'll be able to back that down, assuming the forecast is correct and we get down into the 90s and some of those temps down into the 70s at night. So it's almost there. And the plants can feel it. You could see it in the plants. We've got some new growth, stunted a little bit this week, but the citrus trees started putting out new growth, which is always a good sign because then you know that it's starting to cool off.
Well, and then they look a little sad now with all the hot weather this week.
And you can see, and that's just it. I saw it this morning when we were walking through there. You started getting some curling on some of those new leaves, so they weren't happy with that.
Yeah, they're like, wait a minute. I thought we were done with that.
Exactly. Yep, exactly.
Okay, have you tried, and I'm not sure what that is.
Probably, is that like a calamandan? I'm not sure. Pam, what is it? Calamansi. I don't know what that is.
I don't know what it is either.
Might have to look for that.
What are your views on the I can never say that. Espalier. Tree design, and will you ever grow any for aesthetic purposes?
Oh, and then drinking Chardonnay wine.
Oh, yes. Cheers.
Cheers, Mars. Hey, you know what? That means we got to take a drink.
Yep.
All right. So Espalier. We have not done any Espalier. I don't know whether or not we will, honestly. I'm trying to think if there'd be a circumstance or an area where we would need to. I suppose if we were doing something against the wall in the berry cane patch, so if we wanted to attempt something, it would probably be there.
Yeah.
We're not exactly crammed for space around here, so it's just not something that we've had to do.
I think the closest thing we've even come to that is the grapevines on the chicken, the fence for the chicken run, even though it's not that, but we have been trying to kind of train them along that a little bit, but
yeah, but that's kind of training them how grapevines are trained anyway, so it's not really different. I don't know. I think it would be kind of cool to attempt it. We just don't have the need to do it, so I would say probably not. But I would like to attempt it with, say, like an apple. I think that'd be kind of cool if you could just get the apples to basically be in these perfect little rows. Besides, it's perfect little rows. Wouldn't you like perfect little rows?
I do like perfect little
You do.
rows.
It's like your favorite thing in the world. Perfect little rows. All right. What else we got?
Do you know on what kind of rootstocks do you have your apples, pears, plums, etc.?
Right. So the stone fruit, I can tell you, it's Hansen rootstock. That's what we get from Reed at RSI Growers. The pome fruit, he won't tell me what the rootstock is. So I honestly have no idea. He won't share that little tidbit. But it is all the same rootstock, and it does really well. The only thing I'll say is the Asian pears that we got, Reed grafted for us from cuttings from the old farm. So we had a 20th century and a Shinseki pear, which, speaking of pears, we'll be sharing with you guys some updates on that here in the next week or so, if we can get it all filmed. But those Asian pears have really struggled a bit. So, in fact, we even pulled a couple out that didn't do so well. So these are doing okay, and pears do take a few years before they really kind of kick in, and they're doing better now. So the 20th century in particular, the Shinseki is a little further behind. But otherwise, the pears and the apples all do wonderful on his rootstock. I just don't know what it is.
Yeah.
He won't share.
That's funny.
Yeah. Trade secret.
Are there any legal requirements for you to sell Eon Farm Nursery trees cuttings on your website?
No. So we don't. The only exception would be if we're trying to ship them. So if we're going to be shipping any live plants, that's when we start getting into regulations, which is why we're not going to do that, at least for the time being. Mm-hmm. So we're only going to be offering those here for sale on the farm, so from the nursery, and that's one of the reasons. We don't want to go down that road. And I really don't want to get into the kind of regulation in some of these government agencies. I'm really not interested in having them involved in the farm any more than they have to be. So they already are because of the livestock. So I really don't need them in my life anymore is the honest answer. I think all of us could do with a little less government in our lives. So, but
got it.
I just feel strongly about it.
Have you tried growing cucamelons?
Did we have cucamelons?
I can't remember.
We had talked about it. I don't think we have. So we had the lemon cucumbers, but not a cucamelon. I think I'd like to try them. It's the little guys, right? Isn't the cucamelons the little ones? So they're the small cucumbers. They look like a watermelon.
I was thinking that we tried those on the old property.
We tried hardy kiwi that died as soon as it got hot. All of them did. None of them survived. But we won't try that again. So there was one of those that looked like one.
Is that what it was?
I think that's probably what you're thinking. Yeah.
How many hours do you run the water for your trees and grapes in the winter?
So wintertime for grapes runs for 3 hours because those are on drip. And then our trees run for 2 hours. And that allows us to get and the way we have it all set up, we pretty much fill every hour from 7 p.m. So not quite dark at the peak of summer, but from 7 p.m. through, I think, about 4 a.m. So we're watering when it's dark just to make sure we're eliminating all of the evaporation or the majority of it. So that timing works. So 2 hours for the fruit trees, 3 hours for the grapevines.
So
Look at those short answers I'm giving today.
You're doing good.
I think I'm good for
there
the
was a
lightning
question, Sherry Thompson, if you're still on here, there was a question that she had on here, but it's blocked by this. I can't read it.
All right.
So if you're on here still, restate your question because it blocked the top part of this that I wasn't able to get back to it.
All right.
So anyways, now I lost my spot.
Uh-oh.
I know.
All right, so I'm going to keep going.
Yep.
All right.
Keep going.
So we have or we can get to the topic of the day, right? So we can come back to this. So we're gonna make sure to hang on to your questions, guys. So let's get to the topic of the day because we're about 25 minutes in. So we're about halfway through. So what do we got?
Why is my peach tree struggling when ripening fruit?
Okay. So that was so the thumbnail that you guys are seeing today is actually from one of our peach trees from yesterday. So you can see it might be hard to make out on that one. You can see we've got some new growth on there, very common this time of year, although not a lot. And you'll see we have some leaves that have some browning around the edges, a little bit of yellowing. Very common for us at the end of the summer season. So if you guys are seeing that on your stone fruit in particular, it's totally normal, very, very normal to see some crispy on the leaves. Not the whole leaf, but the outside of the leaf. That's just so a little bit of dieback from the hot, dry weather and some stress. So as you guys know, we talk a little bit about the fall trees that we have, the fall ripening fruit trees that we have, specifically the apples. So we got 3 apples and our pear trees. All of those set fruit in the spring. They ripen all summer long and into the fall season, basically over the next month. So the challenge we've always had is we can't get that fruit into the fall season to ripen because the trees go almost semi-dormant. And the reason why is because they really start to struggle. And they have a lot of stress because very, very dry and very hot. So now the person who asked this question was actually in Southern California. So typically ideal weather and environment for something like fruit trees, they generally do really well there, especially once you get inland and you have the hot weather similar to ours and you have those cooler winters where you get the chill hours. They tend to do a little bit better. So I don't remember exactly what city this person was in, but the question was the peach tree, and I got some pictures. The peach tree was trying to ripen fruit. So they still haven't completely ripened all of their fruit. So it must have been one of the later varieties. And the fruit isn't completely ripe yet, but the tree is really struggling. And the picture that he sent me looks almost the same as the peach tree, as our peach trees at the end of summer. So it was, in my opinion, and the opinion that I gave to him was, it looks like it's stressed and struggling, and it could be a matter of water. So, we got a lot of great weather in the spring and a lot of water in the spring. The challenge has been for all of us in the Southwest is very, very hot temps, which is common. Although, what did we break a record on for continuous 100-degree days or so? What were you telling me?
Yeah, there was I can't remember what the dates were, but it was we were over 100 consecutive days of 100+ degree weather.
Right. So very, very hot. And I think we dipped below 100 degrees very briefly here in Whitman. So that's probably the Phoenix area. But I know Southern California was having similar issues as well. So mentioned that it's probably an irrigation issue. But the challenge ultimately is whenever a tree is ripening fruit, it is focusing all of its energy on ripening that fruit. And if it has anything else going on that's going to stress it out, it could be a lot of different things. But any additional stress on that tree, all of a sudden the tree goes, okay, I'm not going to focus on reproduction at this point. I'm going to focus on surviving. So as soon as it does that, it starts to pull some of that sap back. The fruit's not going to ripen correctly or at all, and you're going to have some of that dieback on the leaves. So it appeared as though that's probably what it was. I had said that could be an issue to check your irrigation, make sure you're getting plenty of mulch. You guys know that that's common for us here in Arizona. We talk about that all the time. But I relate it back to the challenge that we have with all of our fall ripening fruit. It's pretty much the same thing. We get the tree has to spend the entire summer months growing and ripening the fruit. And the challenge is it's struggling because it's stressed out. So no matter what we do, they're going to be stressed in the middle of summer. So it appeared as though that's probably the case. So now back to us here in Arizona. The same thing applies to some of your later ripening peaches. So we've had some questions here about white peaches, so white-fleshed peaches, like your Saturn peach, your Tropic Snow. Is it Tropic Snow? Mm-hmm. The Tropic Snow peach. There's a few other varieties as well that ripen a bit later. And it looks like this person had the same one of those varieties, although I didn't get the type, at least I don't recall. So it was obviously a later ripening one. And so that is the challenge with these later ripening varieties. So my suggestion, and what we typically do here for peaches, is we pick peaches that are going to be ripe before July. And the exception would be if they slide into July slightly, you're okay. But we really prefer the early ripening varieties, like your Florida Prince, which is your first ripening as far as our peaches are concerned. Typically, that's the beginning of May, early May. And then you have your early Amber, your early Grande. Both of those are about 2 weeks later. So you're looking at late May, maybe into June. And then the Reed's Big Red and that Texas King. Both of those, I believe, ripened about the same time. Mm-hmm. Is that correct? And so those, I believe, were like beginning of June, maybe the middle of June. And that's about the same time that all of the summer ripening apples are also ripening. So if you guys know, we're very hot in June, but we're cooler at night. So we don't have those high average temperatures that we have going into July and particularly August, where all of these trees really struggle. So really, when you're looking at varieties, and particularly when we're looking at things like peaches, those early ripening varieties are critical. And it's one of the reasons why Reed carries those varieties. And we got all of those from Reed. And this is one of the reasons why he does those. Now, one last thing, the plum trees and plum varieties. There are a few of the pluaries, so your plum cherry hybrids, that also ripen a bit later. Like we've tried the Dapple Dandy on the old farm as well as on this farm. That one really struggles to ripen. And the reason being is it's trying to ripen fruit in July. So same idea. The tree itself is starting to struggle a little bit. Again, a tree needs to not have stress and focus on ripening in order for it to ripen fruit correctly and ripen well. If it has stress, it's going to pull some of that back and it's going to start to struggle, and you'll see signs of stress. So that's what we saw this week, and that was the question. So that was the answer that I gave to, I'm pretty sure it was a dude. I'm going to keep saying him. But either way, answer that I gave, and then the advice for you guys here in Arizona as well. So focus on those early ripening varieties as we get into planting season. I know we're all thinking about planting. So
Yes.
one last thing about planting. I know we've got some questions here. But so our son and daughter-in-law, they moved into a new home. Was it June? April? Yeah, that was way off, Dwayne. So
They were supposed to move in June. The house was supposed to
Oh.
be done being built in June, but they finished it early. So
okay,
it was April.
It all runs together for me.
Yeah.
So, but either way, they moved in here this spring, and they just got their backyard done, and they purposely left space for 2 fruit trees, right? So, and so he's got those picked out, and we will be showing you guys how we're going to be doing the planting there. I think we're going to have to do something a little bit different with irrigation, so we'll share that with you guys. And they do have a singular challenge as far as where they place these trees. So
yeah, we'll have to be creative because they had it landscaped and the landscapers put a bunch of rock there.
yeah, so that won't stay.
Up against the wall. And
We talked about espalier.
Yep,
so,
and also not very much space, for it.
No.
Anyways,
No.
So it'll be challenging.
So they will be challenged. So we're going to have a challenge here, and we're going to share that with you guys. But, obviously one of the things, most of you guys, the vast majority of you guys out there, you guys are growing in a backyard, a smaller space. And so we're going to take that opportunity to show you guys what we do with smaller spaces, the type of mulch, the type of irrigation that we're going to do. We're challenged because of the space, where it's at, because it's close to their block wall, and there's not a whole lot of space. So we're going to be sharing all that stuff with you guys. So you guys will have to keep an eye out for that. Hopefully we'll be doing that here in the month of October, of course.
Yep.
Because that's when we start planting fruit trees.
I have a mini nectarine that has some fruit that is green and doesn't seem to ripe. And this is from Las Vegas.
From Vegas. Okay.
Sunny in Las Vegas.
Very good. So, hey, Sunny. So what we just talked about is probably what you're experiencing. The good news is if you have a nectarine and you have a fruit set, that's good news. Mm-hmm. So nectarines, sometimes they get thrips, and those thrips, they do something inside the flower and doesn't allow the flower to set fruit. So we've gotten a pretty good fruit set on ours as well. But the fact that you see a fruit set is great. The challenge, of course, is what we've just been discussing, is if it's a later ripening variety, it will struggle. So have to see how that comes out of the summer months into fall to see whether or not you're going to get some ripe fruit. So, but that's probably the reason why it's struggling. So, but if it's still green, it could just be that it hasn't ripened up yet. So, fingers crossed. You may still be all right.
Any experience with ice cream bean trees? Grow in arid, hot parts of Hawaii on dry side. Great shade trees. Also, the hoofed animals love them. Hunters there use it as bait. Also edible.
Interesting. I have seen that. So we haven't tried that. I know the guamachil is, I believe, the Mexican version of that, if I'm not mistaken. I know that we did look into that tree. It's a little spiky for my taste, like huge thorns on the trunks and branches from what I remember. I don't know that the ice cream bean tree would do well here. I think when I was looking at that, the challenges are 20-degree temps. We hit 20 degrees solid. So we're really in the 9A. We're out in Whitman, so we're outside of the city. So technically, well, officially we're 9B, but we get down to 20 degrees, which is definitely firmly in 9A territory. So, once you get down into that low range, anything that's even semi-tropical, you really have some challenges. So now, to say that we would or would not try it, maybe, especially with livestock. So, we've got pigs, and I'm sure they would love those. So it'd be very good for them. Yep. Haven't tried them, though. What else we got?
All right, the one tree that Pam had asked about is a citrus.
Oh, a citrus tree.
Yeah, we've never.
Yeah, it sounds like a calamondin. So, but we haven't grown a calamondin. I'm pretty sure those are I think they're a tart, more like a lemon, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so there's several different posts on here. So we got someone from Poland.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Hi, hello. Oh my goodness. Talk about a different environment. I'm sure when you look out your window right now, it's completely different. Well, first of all, it's dark. Poland. That's got to be, what time is it out there? So you have to let us know. It's got to be nighttime. Yeah.
So struggle with growing peaches and nectarines especially. Birds and wasps decimate my fruit. Not even winter frost, but birds and wasps. I get scammed by sellers. He sells me 39 trees of peach that seems to be rootstock. Can I graft them in trunk in year 2? Will it be fine? Bud grafting method.
Yep, you should be fine as far as the grafting is concerned. You figure a typical rootstock's grown out for about a year or so and then typically grafted is my understanding. So you shouldn't have an issue there. But man, what a bummer. So you get a bunch of rootstock instead of actually the variety. That's a bummer. And then was it what varieties again? Peaches and what else?
Peaches and nectarines.
Peaches and nectarines. So, and then, okay, so I think when it comes to, both of those, you wouldn't have an issue as far as grafting is concerned. So I think with both of those trees here, we wind up having to net them. Now you said wasps, right? So was it was wasp and also birds?
Birds and wasps.
Right. So you probably need to use that. What is that? Thule? What's that netting called?
Oh, I think it's tulle.
Tulle.
I think it's what. I think that's how it's pronounced. Basically, the material that they make tutus out of.
There you go. It's a tutu.
Yeah.
We're back to tutus again. Is Eric Bowers on here? So,
was it Eric or Slam Boy?
Oh, it might have been Slam Boy. I'm not sure. So, but with all of your peaches, one of the things that we have to do here is cover those trees. So, peaches and nectarines both. It is the one tree that we cover with bird netting. And then obviously, as far as the wasps are concerned, you need to use that stuff, the tulle stuff,
whatever that.
The small mesh that's designed specifically for insects.
Yeah.
But I would give that a shot to try to save your harvest if you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What else we got?
We have, what was the highlight of the week for the both of you?
Yeah, sure. So go ahead and bounce back to that, and then we can also, because we'll keep going. We got more on our agenda.
Yeah, so we talked about the highlight of the week at the beginning a little bit, but we started our fall planting.
Oh, that's right. Yep. So fall planting started. We have some in-ground planting we done, which is mainly squash. And then we have our winter bed planting. So your brassicas basically and lettuce is what we started. I know it's almost like we get a different crew that comes in at different times during the podcast. It's almost like we could take the first half and then just repeat it in the second half.
I know. Okay, I don't know what I did to myself here.
Let's go ahead and go over to the agenda so it's not dead air.
I know, sorry.
We would be horrible radio show hosts.
I know.
All right, so what do we got?
So we have a section on here that we are going to do as a did you know, kind of what I learned or what we learned this week. And we have it on quince. So we had posted a picture on Instagram of the quince on our tree. So we do have a quince tree, and we've never gotten ripe fruit on it. So neither of us have ever actually eaten that fruit.
Hopefully it tastes better than guava.
By looking at it, you wouldn't think so.
I don't know. It's hard to say right now. It looks pretty scary. I'm not going to lie.
But online, and everything online is correct, right?
I go to Google for all my facts.
Yeah, this was on Google. So raw quince are hard, sour, astringent, and so high in tannins, if they are eaten raw, you'll feel like you're choking. That's what it said. And it says, once cooked, the tannins break down and the flesh, which was once coarse and white, becomes tender, pink, and beautifully fragrant.
Okay. Didn't say anything about how it tastes, though, did it, at the end?
Nope.
Oh, no.
Well, I think it was kind of, like apple pear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Apple pear? All right.
That kind of in that area.
As long as it doesn't taste like flowers and feet, I guess we're okay.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, I agree. I think you got this open. So
yeah, I don't know how to close it.
Yeah. All right. So what else we got? We're back to being
know.
horrible radio show hosts.
Yep, it's gonna be bad because
You're okay.
I'm
We're
lost
all right.
on here.
So hey, if you guys can give us a thumbs up, that would help us out a lot. While Lori tries to figure out how to scroll.
Okay, when do you have a holiday or some days off you can travel somewhere or for a relax or something like that for several days?
Oh goodness, I can just keep laughing, I think.
I don't know what I did to the screen.
No,
it's all messed up, you guys.
It's fine. I can read it just fine.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, how do we find the time, or do we find the time?
When do you have a holiday or some time or days off?
Okay, so basically we do not. Technically, we don't. But no, in all honesty, so what we have to plan for those is the reality. So there are times of the year we can't do it. And right now would be a time of year where we can't. This is we're heading into peak season for us. We've got a couple of peak seasons with a couple of dips in between them. A couple of dips in between them. Anyway, so but we've got the first one is the month of December. You guys know that we take the month of December off from YouTube. So we try to take it off from all of social media. Last year we did some YouTube, like some shorts and stuff. We may still do this, but it takes a long time for us to film and edit video. So that is a part-time job in and of itself. It's about 5 to 6, 7, 8 hours sometimes, depending on the project and how much longer it takes us to do those. So YouTube takes up a lot of our time. And then you guys know we love interacting with you guys, responding to comments. It takes a lot of time for us to do that as well. So we take the month of December off. So and at that point, we don't have turkeys. We don't have broiler chickens on the farm. The big pigs are big enough that they don't need a whole lot of attention. Not that they need a lot now, but they just don't need a lot of attention. And so the month of December would be an option if you wanted to do that. And then the summer months. So once we get into June, July for sure. August, we've got
pigs coming.
We got pigs come in August. We've got the turkeys that come in at the end of July. So it would have to be June. July. Yeah, it really kind of June is kind of what it narrows down to. So we talked about doing a cruise with the kids, right? Eventually we'll do that, and probably Alaska, and that would be the month of June. So we have to make sure Nate and Tara, we feed them well, and we bribe them some other way.
Yeah, Gayla said that she'd come and stay at the farm.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So we'll have a house sitter.
Yeah.
Maybe one of these days.
One of these days.
So what else we got here?
Mars was asking a good email to send some music, and I responded to you, Mars. So if you didn't get that, let me know. And then John
really cool.
had just commented about the late fruiting. So he said for late fruiting trees in extreme heat, kaolin clay, product name Surround.
Oh, that's probably for the fruit itself, right,
yeah,
John?
they spray it on mangoes. They grow in Yuma, Arizona. I've used it on late stone fruits.
I'll tell you what, that might be worth trying for the apples. That may be our savior for the apples.
Oh,
so
really?
We have to give that a shot. Yep. So, because the pears, again, we're going to give you guys an update on pears. Keep in mind, we're hopeful for pears. We talked about that a few weeks back. But yeah, the apples still got destroyed. We had a few that did set. So, excuse me, we'll try to give you guys an update on that because we did have some fall apples set. And actually, they're still on the tree. But they're getting wrecked.
They're getting eaten, yeah.
They're getting wrecked. What else we got?
All right, we have days. Best tasting fresh peach.
The Texas King is the best tasting. Now, I would tell you that the Florida Prince is really, really hard to beat. And the only downside to the Florida Prince that I can see, because it's thin-skinned, it doesn't have a lot of fuzz on it, it doesn't have a bitter skin. The only downside to it is that it's a clingstone, right? So, but the Texas King is freestone, and it's also later. So, but yeah, it's probably the Texas King. The Florida Prince, though, is fantastic, and the challenge with the Texas King, Reed is part of, at our site growers, is part of one of several test orchards, so you can't just get them commercially yet, is my understanding. So, and he doesn't, a lot of times he's sold out, so they can be hard to find. So, but a Florida Prince is very easy to find and a fantastic one. So, and very early. So the challenge with the Texas King could eventually be that it's a later ripening fruit. And we did see smaller fruit this year because of the frosts, because it also has the same issue. It has to ripen that fruit a bit longer. So
Yeah.
All right.
Did you source Zintrac liquid zinc?
No, not yet. So we haven't been to it. We haven't been to any of the local nurseries. So I'm hopeful that Summer Winds, I guess, is probably our closest one. Either that or I think Elgin Nursery. I know you had mentioned Whitfill, so I could always squeeze over to Whitfill if I needed to. But I think we'll probably focus on that next year. So when we come back to that for more spraying next year at the beginning of the season, I think I'm going to try to find that. So I'm pretty sure you said Whitfill, if I'm not mistaken, John. So, but we haven't sourced it yet.
Do pineapple guava grow in your area? Do you have any? If not, would you try growing it?
Great question, Daryl. And yes, we do. We have two different varieties. One has been in the ground for about 4 years and flowered like crazy this year, but didn't set any fruit. And we have one that's brand new. I don't remember the names offhand. The Namitz and the Takaka. I think those are the varieties. So the Namitz is the one that we've had for several years. Now we did have, I don't remember the variety on the old farm, and it did set fruit. But it was after about 5 years, but it never ripened. So it wound up falling off the tree. So we're hopeful that as these grow longer and they become more mature, that we will have them. But yeah, they do just fine, and they love the winters. They struggle a bit during the summertime, but we had one that we planted this spring. It's doing just fine.
Yeah,
muscled through the summer, no protection. So yeah, they will grow. They just grow very, very slowly, and it takes a long time for them to set and ripen fruit. They can say up to 10 years.
Wow,
is what I've read. So even under ideal conditions, it takes several years to fruit. So
okay, foliar application of K potassium will help ripen late fruit.
Oh, okay, that's good to know.
Speeds it up.
Good to know. What else? Are we going to finish early today? What do we got? Well, it's not that early. It's about 10 minutes. Are we good? Do we have more on our list?
I will double check.
All right.
Here.
Sorry about the dead air again. Just horrible at. We're not going to be doing any news radio here.
Out. So we have other questions on here if we want to try to go through some of those. So
sure, go for it.
Yeah, other questions. We get random like emails, questions on Instagram, Facebook, phone calls.
This one, and also on old YouTube videos. So if it's an old YouTube video, YouTube has these algorithms and they suggest trees. It makes sense to me when some of these come up. Like right now, they're suggesting pruning videos. We got some pruning videos people are watching that are older. So we're getting questions on those. And one of our watering video has come up. And I think this question was on the watering video. And this particular person didn't mean it in a nice way. I still answered it though. I was good though. Trust me.
They didn't mean
I was
it in
mean.
a nice way?
No, they were a little negative. They were a little negative.
So
Nelly.
the question was, do I need to dig a big hole to plant a tree? So what were they saying?
They didn't ask it that way.
So they said that your hole wasn't big enough?
So it's always fun sometimes though. We get folks that come in. YouTube winds up suggesting these videos, especially some of these the videos that are older that are on this farm, and none of the trees are very big. So, or there's just not very many trees in particular. And you know, a lot of these folks, they don't know us and they don't know what we're doing. So I try to take all this with a grain of salt. But essentially, what this was, there was somebody who commented on that and said that they would dig a 4 foot wide by 4 foot deep hole in order to excavate all of the caliche so that the fruit tree roots could penetrate the ground better. So I thought, okay, well, that's fine. If you're wanting to put that work in, go for it. It definitely would help the roots to penetrate the ground more quickly. I don't disagree with any of that. But it's a whole lot of work. You're literally excavating rocks. So I said, hey, yeah, that sounds great. Go for it. We wouldn't do that here, but we've had success without it. So the question ultimately was, how can you possibly plant a tree on top of rocks? So now, caliche is not really a rock. You guys know that. It's minerals. So it's hardened, minerals in the ground. Typically, that layer is about 1 to 2 feet deep for most of us here in Arizona. Unless you had erosion or something else going on, it can be shallower than that. It could also be deeper than that. And what we found is that the caliche layers, they're kind of stratified is probably the right word, but they run in layers, and typically it's multiple layers. So you'll go down, you'll see a caliche layer, and we've got a shot when they were trenching for all of our electrical lines that was 6 feet down, and we had multiple caliche layers all the way down to 6 feet. So it wasn't just at that 2 foot level, but it was, again, kind of stratified in there. There was layers of it that would go through. So now, obviously, with that, you can use a backhoe. It'll get through there just fine. So these are not actually rocks. It's just very, very dense mineral content, calcium, magnesium, things like this. So now, as you continually water the plants, eventually roots will start penetrating down into and through that. Every mesquite tree in the desert, every Palo Verde in the desert, that's what happens. Mesquite trees have extremely deep taproots. And of course, they are pushing down through that caliche layer. Now, to be fair, those are desert adapted trees. They're ideal for us here, but they essentially do the same thing. So they do penetrate that layer. So, one way or another, it's going to eventually work its way down. But what's most important is that the tree roots themselves establish. So that was the first part. Second part was our rootstocks that we have here designed for our soil. That's the reason why we source our trees where we suggest them to you guys. We don't generally buy our grafted stone fruit and pome fruit from online nurseries because those rootstocks are definitely not ideal for us here in Arizona. They're typically designed for California, some of these other places where the soil may be similar, but it's definitely not the same. And so even though the trees themselves may be okay, they're not going to thrive. So, getting the right rootstock, that's part of this process. You guys know that outward root growth on a tree does just fine, and it'll save you the literal back-breaking process of trying to chisel through the hard layers that we have here in Arizona. So now the other thing is we talk about planting depth. We talk about making sure that your root crown is exposed or right at the top of the soil level, ideally exposed. You're planting on a mound. We excavate in order to do that, but that it's up, off, and further away from that caliche layer. Of course, watering out and away from the tree. This video was talking about that and how we water and the importance of it going away from the tree. Because, of course, again, what I didn't stress as these folks were talking about it is, if you dig a 4 foot by 4 foot box, guess what that tree will always do? It'll always live in that 4 foot by 4 foot box. Now, our trees are not in a 4 foot box. They've pushed well beyond that space. So all of these trees have roots going out 8 feet in an 8 foot diameter or wider. And so they're sourcing all their nutrition from a much wider area. And obviously they do really, really well. So that was the long answer. because that's what I do is give long
That's
answers
what you do.
to the short answer that I gave them on YouTube. So I was nice. I
Pam
promise.
said 4 feet deep, I would be buried.
Oh, that's true. That's pretty funny.
Will you expand your berry bush total by any chance? If so, what new berries will arrive on the farm?
So we don't have any plans to expand berries. No, I think I think we grew, I want to say either 6 or 8 different berry varieties on the old farm. We tried 2 additional berry varieties here, and we've gone right back to the Primark Blackberry.
Yeah, it's the best one.
Yeah, it's just by far the best one. The Triple Crown, if we could find a Triple Crown, we got burned on that this time. But the Triple Crown is also a very good one. It's just not as good as the Primark, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Just because you got the 2 seasons. We got a really good flower set.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on that, you guys will see that tomorrow. But yeah, we don't have any plans to extend berries. I think the only thing that we would go back to at some point in time is potentially additional mulberry varieties. It's not on the plans yet, though.
Are you trimming your blackberry in the fall?
Is that a question?
Yeah.
Huh? Can I say watch the video tomorrow?
Pam, watch the video tomorrow.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in the vlog tomorrow, guys. So definitely join us there. So, because we're going to go into detail about what we're doing. You'll see what we do and the reason behind it. So,
Did you put something in the spot in the front, I think, where the guava was?
good question. And no, not yet. I believe we had that question last week. We talked a little bit about some of our plans. Our plans are a little up in the air as far as that area is concerned. Evergreen would be the key. We are looking for an evergreen variety up there. So it does need to be an evergreen. And we've kind of decided we're going to rearrange some things, right? Mm-hmm. So we have a blackberry up there that we're going to actually relocate. Mm-hmm. And then we're actually going to have more space than we have right now. And that's because I think we got 3 different trees we want to plant up there. So we lost 2, we're going to gain 1. So we're going to wind up with 3.
Yeah, we're going to transplant 2 things that are up there right now.
2 things?
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. 2 things. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So 2 transplants.
And then plant. Yeah.
And we'll be planting trees behind it. So a few different fruit trees. And we've got a pretty good idea of what we're going to do, but we're not 100% set on it.
Yeah.
We just know where they're going to be located. They're going to be in slightly different spots. And for you guys out there who either cannot or don't want to do flood type irrigation with a bubbler, we're going to be using drip irrigation. So you guys are going to see how we design that area for a true fruit tree. So not what's kind of been up there so far. So you guys will see how we do that. It's not super exciting, but you'll see what we do.
Are you planning to sell any of your berry plants?
No. So we've had a few folks ask about that. So the Primark Blackberry is a patented variety. So we won't mess around with that because it's a patented variety. Primark is Arkansas, so that's what the ARC stands for. And no, we can't. I will tell you, it's difficult to propagate. So Chris wanted to do some for himself. Did any of them take?
I don't think any of them took.
Yeah, so we did. We put a bunch of sticks in the ground in that second bed. I don't know. We put like 20 or 30 sticks in the ground. I want to say 5 or 6.
Not very many.
Actually took. Yeah, so it's known to not propagate well. So probably not.
Dwayne, have you attempted any push-ups or sit-ups since last week's live stream?
No. I've done several bench presses, but I haven't done any push-ups. I do planks for a while, but not actual push-ups. I've actually got my left shoulder. I got a bad left shoulder. So even with the bench presses, I got to be careful. So and I can angle them so it doesn't hurt quite as much. But I've got to be careful with push-ups because it can wreck my shoulder. So I've got a good excuse.
How's the banana this week?
Oh, you want to talk about the banana?
The banana is looking pretty rough, but it still has new growth. The youngest little pup on there, so it's the 3rd pup. The newest one has a new leaf that came out this week. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's looking a little rough because we've had a lot of winds and just that heat. So
yeah, that heat zapped it. I think it had some new growth on there, and I think it's just done. It's like it's had enough. It's like, please, I want some relief. So yeah, it's not very good. Did you get it on camera this morning?
I didn't even go over there this morning.
That's right. So we talked about the weather. That crack of lightning scared the heck out of us both. But we'll have to get an update for you guys on the banana. We really need to give you guys an end of summer update. I think we did that last year. We really kind of owe you guys an update, a visual update on the entire farm to kind of get so you guys can see how the farm came through this summer. Over 100 days of 100 plus temps. So we didn't set a whole lot of records this year though. So, so yeah, it was hot. Yes, it was over 100 degrees. All those things are true. I won't argue that, but we didn't get above 120. We didn't have a record number of 110 plus like we did the last 2 years. So yeah, it was a rough summer, but they're always rough. So what else we got? Are we finishing on time? It's 3 o'clock.
Yeah, we have a few more questions on here. I have a 3-year-old Fuji apple tree. This past winter, the rootstock developed a crack on the bark. Now it has about 4. And the bark is slightly peeling off. Any idea what could be the problem?
You know what? Can you send us a picture of that? I know you did your best to describe it. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with the bark. So if you go to our website, there's an option on there to message us. Shoot us a message, and we'll connect that way because I'd like to see a picture of it because I want to see what's going on there. Be easier to see it, I think.
Rob has 3 Primarks that he propagated and only 1 took, even under 60% shade. Any plans to propagate grapevine cuttings?
You know what, George, that's a good question. I think eventually we may. Only because I think having those that are grown here in Arizona, I think there's something to be said for that because we had those couple Syrahs that struggled, and we've just had some of those struggle from time to time, and they're pretty easy to propagate. At some point, we probably will. So yeah, that's good. That's a good question. Write that down. Yep. All right.
Nope, that's the wrong one. Question: accent lighting the farm?
So you mean like on outside? So like in strategic areas to do accent lighting on the farm? Verify that for me, Slamboy. Can you clarify that question? I will make sure we answer it. We've got a couple of accent lights on the front.
We have 2 little spotlights on 2 of the loquat trees.
Yeah.
That I got just to kind of test it to see how they did, and I wanted to do the whole front yard on every tree, and it's just a matter of money and string lights.
Yeah. Oh, string lights? Oh, well, that would be... Yeah, that's all you. Would you want to do string lights?
I haven't thought about it anywhere except for like the patios.
I think the patios would be nice. Definitely the outbuilding overhang, right? So
it'd actually be really cool is to put in posts and do it like all over the whole garden area.
Oh, actually, the garden would be beautiful that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be a lot of work.
Well, if we ever have that wedding venue that we talk about, so maybe then.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So you keep going there. I'm going to answer any last minute questions, but we're at just over an hour. So just over 3 o'clock. We got some questions. We're going to punt to next week. So make sure if you guys have questions for us, please send those over to us. We generally get plenty of those anyway, but you have anything that you want us to discuss here, please let us know. But this has been the Desert Farmer Podcast, episode 31, if I'm not mistaken. And as always, been talking about this to you, or we talk about this each week to you guys, but as we wrap up, and it's always on my heart with you guys because you guys are so encouraging to us, with a few exceptions, but most of you guys are very encouraging to us. You guys keep us going, and you guys spend time with us. And we talk about time as the most valuable thing that we have here on the planet. It's not gold, it's not silver, it's not rubies and gems, and it's definitely not the US dollar these days. It is time. And you guys choose to spend that with us. We do not take that for granted. A big reason why we're here each week is to make sure that we can spend some QT with you guys and answer your guys' questions, and we love interacting with you guys. So just want to thank you for being here. Thank you for all the comments you guys give on YouTube and the messaging on Facebook and Instagram, even the emails that we get, the phone calls that Lori gets. Really do enjoy spending this time with you guys. So thank you guys for being here. Do we have any last questions before we drop off?
Just a couple. What is today's cheat meal?
Yes. And give us a thumbs up, guys, here as we wrap up. Cheat meal. What's the cheat meal?
Actually, I didn't do a cheat meal today just because it seemed like lately our cheat meals, we have leftovers and we won't eat it because it's not part of our keto.
It's not keto.
Eating. Mm-hmm. And so I actually tried a new casserole today. It's a sour cream bake. So we'll see.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So I know there's cauliflowered rice, which we've actually grown to like. So I wasn't sure if I would, but it's pretty good.
Yeah.
You gotta treat it right.
Yep.
Gotta treat it right. Gotta
It's pretty
massage
good.
it. Massage it. all
Will
set?
you propagate in water or soil
For
grapevines?
the grapevine cuttings, I'm not sure. I think what we may wind up doing is probably shooting those over to Chris. So, and having him propagate those for us. I think a big part of that is just kind of seeing how the nursery goes. So if the nursery does well and folks want us to expand, then we will. So I think that would really kind of be the selling point to that. And we'd probably have him go ahead and propagate them. So, because he does a great job. So, and he does propagate in water. So it is hydroponically propagated. Yeah. So, and he's all set up for that. I see a bead there. What's up, a bead? So did I see somebody from Slovakia again?
Yeah, Michael.
Ha! How cool is that? How's it going, Michael? All right. So Lori's gonna stay here with you guys in the comment section. We're running late. It's just after 3:00 here. We've got just a tiny bit of drinking to do. Just a smidge.
Tiny bit?
Okay. Well, yeah, it's a small amount for me. I'm not sure about this one. So just want to thank you guys for joining us today and remind you, if we can farm on the edge of nowhere,
so can you. Mm-hmm. And
We'll see
I
you
am
guys next
not
week.
in the thing to go off the screen.
And now it's just weird.
I know. I went to another
Bye, everybody.
screen.